So today we're going to do our lesson via video, and I want you to go ahead and pause the video, and at the top of this piece of paper that you're given, write your learning target. There are two. It says I can use the coordinate plane to find the area of a figure, and I can plot figures in the coordinate plane. And then of course your title for today is figures on a coordinate plane. So like I said, go ahead and pause the video and write this down on your piece of paper, and then we'll get started. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at some figures that are plotted on the coordinate plane, and I just want to quickly remind you, when you're given a coordinate plane, the point where your two axes cross is called the origin, and that's at 0, 0, and then of course you would count positive if you're going right, negative if you're going left. Remember that we always go X first and then Y. So what we're going to do is we're just going to work through these. So figure A is a rectangle, and we're going to talk a little bit about how do you find the area of figure A, and how do you find the perimeter. So since it's a rectangle, we would do length times width. So to find the length of this figure, and they don't line up perfectly, but they're pretty close, we're going to see how far it is from this corner to this corner. So what I do is I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks. So that means that my length is 6, and I'm going to multiply that by the height, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks. So that means that the area of this particular shape is 24 units squared. If I ask you to find the perimeter, then you would just add them all up. So we would do 6 plus 6 plus 4 plus 4. So of course that would give me a total of 20 units if we just do basic addition. So we're not going to do perimeter and area on all of these, but I just wanted you to see that those are the two ways that you would do those. Let's do figure B. So figure B is a trapezoid. We're only going to find the area of this figure. So the area of a trapezoid, if you remember, and you do need to memorize this formula, is base 1 plus base 2. Then we multiply that by the height, and then we divide it by 2. So if we take a look at figure B, base 1 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So base 1 is 6. Base 2 is 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the height, remember, is not this side measurement. We would have to figure out the height by seeing how tall is it from the tallest point to the smallest point. And you can do it anywhere inside this figure. A lot of people are going to do it here on the corner. You could do it right in the center. It's really up to you if you have a figure that has a parallel line at the top and the bottom. So this one is 1, 2, 3, 4. So the height of this shape is also 4. So if we use those numbers and plug them into our formula, base 1 was 6. We're going to add that to base 2, which is 4. Then we're going to multiply that by the height, which was 4, and then we'll divide it all by 2. So 6 plus 4 is 10, and 10 times 4 is 40, and 40 divided by 2 gives me a total area of 20 square units. Let's move on to figure C. So figure C is a triangle, and we're only going to find the area of this one. So the area of the triangle is found by doing base times height and then divide by 2. Of course, you could also do half of the base, then multiply it by the height, or half of the height and multiply it by the base. We've talked about those formulas are really interchangeable. Figure C has a base measurement of 1, 2, 3 spaces. So that means the base is 3. We're going to multiply that by the height. That is not this measurement. Remember, the height has to be perpendicular to the base. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we'll, of course, divide that by 2. So 3 times 6 gives me 18. And then 18 divided by 2 would give me a final area of 9 units squared. Moving on to figure D. Figure D is a parallelogram. A parallelogram can be found by doing the area, of course, by doing base times height. I do caution you to be very careful with parallelograms. They're probably some of the most commonly miscounted ones. So this parallelogram has a base of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. The height is not the side measurement. Remember, the height is from the tallest point to the lowest point or the smallest point. So you just have to see how far it is from here to here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So to find the area, we just do 5 times 6, and the final area of this one is 30 square units. Now the last one is figure E. Figure E is what we would call an irregular or a compound or a complex shape. So what we're going to do with that one is we're going to see how we would split this one, and you've got a couple of different options. You could split straight across here if you wanted. You could split straight down if you wanted. Remember, our rules is that you want to make as few cuts as possible, so we don't want to try to make 6 different shapes from this. We want to make it very simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight down right here, and then that will give me 2 shapes, a number 1 and a number 2. So E1 is a rectangle. So we're going to find the area of that one by doing length times width. So if we look only at this shape, E1, the length of this one is 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to multiply that by the height, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So just E1 is 20 square units. E2 is also a rectangle, so I know that I'm going to do length times width for this one as well. E2 is 1, 2, 3, 4 units in length and only 2 units in height. So that one would be a total area of 8. So now to find the total area of figure E, we would have to come back and do 20 plus 8 gives me a combined area of 28 units squared. So now that we've got that, we're going to move on to the bottom, and you are going to need your 3 different colored pencils or markers for this particular activity. For this one, I want you to do H and J first. So pause the video, and what you're going to do is you are going to plot these figures on your coordinate grid that you're given, and then whenever you're finished, you can play it to make sure that yours are correct. Make sure you do 2 different colors. For my purposes, I'm going to do figure H in green, and then I'm going to do figure J in a blue color. So make sure you're using 2 different colors, and then we'll do figure K together in just a second. So go ahead and pause and draw your figures. If you're watching this, that means you've already paused and you've drawn your figures, so I'm going to show you what mine look like. So the first one would be 1, 1, and then we have 5, 1, and then we have 5, 8. So these, this would be your figure, and I'm going to try my best to draw this with one hand. Not too bad. This is figure H, so I'm going to label that. And then we're going to do figure J next. So that one is 4, negative 2. And then 4, negative 6. And then negative 4, negative 6. And then negative 3, negative 2. So it doesn't take much to figure out that this one's going to be a trapezoid. My paper keeps moving. So there's that. So this is figure J. So now we're going to try to find their areas, and since we've got figure H, it's a triangle, so to find the area we're going to do base times height, and then we're going to divide it by 2. So the base of this shape is 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to multiply that by the height, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 4 times 7 would be 28, and we would divide that by 2, so we end up with a final area of 14 square units. Some of you may remember the shortcut that we used when we did absolute value to figure out the distance between 2 points, and if you do that, can really save you a lot of time on these types of questions. Let's do figure J. Figure J is a trapezoid, so to find the area of that trapezoid, we're going to have to do base plus base, and then multiply that by the height, and then of course divide it by 2. So the first base is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to add that to the second base, which is up here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we're going to multiply it by the height, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then divide it all by 2. So 8 plus 7 gives me 15. Then we're going to do 15 times 4, and then divide by 2 in the end. 15 times 4 is 60, and 60 divided by 2 would leave me with an answer of 30 square units. Now the last one, I want you to use a different color for it as well, and the last one I'm going to do probably in a red, so you can choose whatever color you want. The last one is a little bit different. So the last one gives you some information, but you have some missing information. So it says there's a quadrilateral, which means 4-sided, and you have 3 of the vertices, and then you notice there's a blank. So your job is to figure out what are those, what would it look like, so what would that 4th vertex be, and then find the area. So let's plot what we've got, which is -1, +8. So the first one would be way up here. And then the other one would be -3, +3. So that one would be here. And then we have -9, +3. So since it has to be a quadrilateral, I know this is not a triangle because it sort of looks like a triangle right now, but I know it's not a rectangle because if it were a rectangle, then these 2 dots would have to be lined up. So I'm going to assume it's probably a parallelogram. It could also be a trapezoid. Traditionally, you're going to get more common shapes like squares, rectangles, parallelograms, because trapezoids can be all different shapes and sizes. So we're going to assume that this one is a parallelogram, which means that the dot that matches this one has to be 2 spaces to the left, so 1, 2, and then it has to be on the same line as this one. So that means it has to be right here on the same line as the 8, but of course it's got to be the same space away because these have to be parallel to each other, otherwise it's not truly a parallelogram. So this is what my shape looks like. I've drawn the shape. It says what is the 4th vertex, so that means this is the one in question. So if you look at your coordinate grid, that is at -7, +8. So the 4th vertex would be -7, +8, and I barely fit that in there. And now we're going to find the area of that one, and the area is found by doing base times height. So the base of this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the height is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so that means that the combined area for this one is 30 square units. So I hope that this has helped you. When all is said and done, you will need to put this into your notebook on the page that's instructed on your Haiku page. And then you're going to get a copy of this assignment, which will go on the very next page. And basically you are going to follow all of the instructions. You will notice it tells you what color to shade them in. So if I were you, I would do it in pencil and then shade it in with a colored pencil or very lightly with a crayon, the color that you're told for each one. Thanks.